That would be what I would like to do if we get that far. So I'm not ready to recommend that we enact it tonight. Having said that, we okay?
Yeah, I forgot to turn you too long.
Well, good thing we didn't have the policy in place.
Been a crazy day.
It does say at the end that if you have a bona fide reason for not following, that it doesn't invalidate the action you have taken. So, Jeff, Walter, if you had a chance to look at it and comments, I tried to simplify it. I think I did.
Yeah, I like it.
Characteristically fine job. I was, this calls out that, that voting should always be by roll call.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I think that's good.
Yeah, that's one of, yeah, I think that if we're gonna require that all meetings be Zoom, even if all the members are present, I think the public should know how people are voting. I mean, I did that on purpose. I also added in, I'll go over some of the things that I consider the major points. I added the reason that one could skip a meeting. I added health concerns, which obviously if someone is not comfortable coming to a meeting because of COVID, then they don't have to, and it's up to the chair. The chairs are basically responsible for implementing this, or whatever the body is, to make sure that that person is accommodated. It also calls for all meetings to be open via Zoom, which doesn't mean, as we all know, that everybody gets a right to speak. They get a right to attend and observe. Although I do deal with public participation and ask that all meetings of the body include an agenda item for public comment for items not on the agenda, and indicate that the chair may limit the time allotted for that purpose. And also that the chair provide an opportunity for public comment for items on the agenda as they are considered, even though main law doesn't require that. And again, to the extent determined by the chair that that the comments are germane to the issue and not inhibit the transaction of the body's business. And I think that kind of parrots what we do here. The voting that you just put out, it kind of codifies in policy that meetings will be posted at least 5 days in advance with an agenda. That's the notice. And it also stipulates that if there's nothing on the agenda that indicates the agenda can be adjusted, or other business or a similar item, that then only the matters on the agenda can be discussed. And it also requires that the meetings be recorded and provided to the town clerk for posting on the town's website. It does give it a little out there for if it's a site visit for the planning board, obviously out to a site, that's not practical. Or if they're at a venue where it's not available. And then it does basically at the end say that if due to technical problems or other bona fide reasons, the public is not provided with an opportunity to participate, any actions taken at the meeting shall not be invalid. So if you guys are good with it where it is, I'd like to circulate it to the chairs, ask for their comment. I do, one change I would like to make is I put in here in several places the chairs are responsible for this, the chairs are responsible for this. I think what I'd like to do is take all of those out and just put at the end, the chairs are responsible for ensuring this is complied with, and do it in one sentence. So, good to move? In draft? Okay, you feel we need a motion, or just let's get the draft back and, okay.
Makes sense. Might want to, well, I was going to suggest you send it to Sue, but since it would probably be on the 12th. But I'm jump skipping the democratic process.
Do you guys require anything more than me?
I gotta sign this. And then you can,
Those are the originals, so you should, he takes those away, right?
Right, he's gonna get them.
I have to get them.
He has to go to, they have to go to the state.
no, that's why I took you out of order, to get you out of here. I figured you wouldn't want to sit here all night. Then I forgot to sign it. You won't have Jack's signature, but as long as you have two, that's a,
Who's good?
two's good. You wanna make copies of these signed copies, or just the signature page?
Yeah, I'll just do the.
That picture goes with it.
Oh, okay, status of the planning board bylaw amendment regarding notification. I asked for this to be on the agenda. I'm a little confused, as I mentioned at the last meeting. The planning board's report and the town report basically said that this was enacted in February and it assumes it's kind of a done deal. My understanding from you, Jeff, is that it wasn't. And I know it has, we sent some comments back, and I know it hasn't been back to the board for approval, which is now required. So I'm confused, and I didn't know if you could clear it up or not, or.
No, I'm with you, but right now it's in the planning board's hands and they have not met since the last time I met with them. And that's what Irv was waiting to do, was to take it back to the planning board at a meeting to bless all of the changes that we had agreed on.
So you have talked to him since he wrote that report in the.
No, I have not talked to him since he wrote the report.
Okay, and also it strikes me, since they don't have any business, this would be a golden opportunity to work on these types of things, but it's not my meeting, but. Walter, do you have any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, well, the one thing that jumped out at me, and I think it must have been Jeff's comment, about they've expanded who is in a butter. In the track changes, I think the blue track changes yours, Jeff?
I'm not sure which copy we're looking at, but they did not use the word abutter. They eliminated the word abutter. So they're defining who they are going to notify. And it's just anybody within 500 feet.
Right, yeah, okay.
So an abutter is still defined as it was
Correct.
previously, and so rather than having two definitions of abutter, they simply changed the name, or if that's your suggestion.
Correct. And that's what they agreed to.
Okay, so but at this point, I just want to make sure we're perfectly clear. Their bylaws have not been amended, even though the town report from the planning board says they have been.
Correct. And I would even argue that their original bylaws have never been approved either.
Okay, so, and will you continue to follow this, Jeff?
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else, Walter, on that?
No.
Okay, discussion on tax acquired property M17 L41. There is a note here. It's we did send this to the Conservation Commission. It says the commissioners believe the property should be retained as open space, but it's not suitable for trail or other recreational uses. Terry also indicated that she has heard from Dan Allen, who's a relative of the previous owner. He may be interested in bidding on the land that was up for bid. And you would send him an agenda letting him know the property was going to be discussed tonight. So thoughts on where we go with this?
Was there also some talk from one of the abutters on either side that well wanted?
Yeah, he owns both.
Oh, that's Dan Allen?
No, that's, Brooks. Right?
Brooks owns both sides?
Doesn't he own both sides?
I don't know. I thought he just owned the Aspen Drive subdivision.
I thought he owned both of them. But anyway, I'm about him. So,
There are a whole lot of lots, and I did not look to see who owned them all, but abutting it.
yeah, no, not the owners of the lots, but the person who did the subdivision was the gentleman who
Oh,
expressed
okay.
interest. So those lots are sold to other people.
Right.
So was that a question or did you have more to?
No, that was a question, and, you know, frankly, I'm leaning towards, putting it out to bid.
I had mentioned, I think that this lot could be valuable to some people, and I had mentioned the idea of contacting Kristen to see if we could increase its value, that if we did put it up a bid, that we sold it by warranty deed as opposed to quitclaim deed. I still would like to explore that. I kind of, I'm not opposed to the idea of keeping land wild and open as the commission has recommended, but I personally was thinking that I would be more inclined to put this to bid and we'd have to go to town meeting to do this, and then take the proceeds from that and use that as a pot of money to potentially buy or match grant or something for some, what I would call a higher value parcel in terms of environmental impact. So that's kind of my thought. And even if we put it up a bid, we don't have to accept. I mean, if someone comes in and bids $5, we can reject them. You know,
That's what I was concerned about.
yeah. So Jeff, you got
Yeah.
thoughts on this or?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think environmentally, it's such a narrow swath that divides two developed areas, two subdivisions. It is of marginal value, if any at all, as open space. And it would be better off purchased and then use that money somewhere else to develop some truly open space as opposed to just this buffer between two suburbs. Plus, that's our new development area where we're
That's
kind
right.
of designing it to be half-acre lots. So that's the area we've identified to not be open space.
Well, that was the other thing. It struck me that keeping this as open space was sort of contrary to the revised zoning enacted, what, 5 or 6 years ago now, that saw that area as a development area. Not
Right.
that specific lot, but that general area.
Correct.
So what do folks think about talking to Kristen?
Yeah.
I think for, $25, she may say, no, it's not worth it, or, yeah, it is worth it, so.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Could I, whenever you're done?
yeah, okay, if there's any, I was gonna open it up for any comments that, because I see there's 2 commissioners here, and anyone else for that matter, so. So if you guys are set for now, did you have a comment
It's more,
or a question?
it's more a question of what you envision it being usable for. As it is completely, as you said yourself when you brought this up, the only access right now that isn't backed up against someone else's property is at the road where it's marsh on one side and a steep hillside on the other. So who would want it for what? I'm just curious. What
Well-
you think you're saying you think it has market value, and I'm just curious.
I think it might to the butter. or the developer. And there is, my understanding is there is a right of way at the top of one of the subdivisions. There's a 50-foot right of way. From, I don't have the tax map in front of me,
Not the Aspen Drive, but the other one.
the other one.
But the other's Quarry,
Quarry Hill.
Quarry Trail.
Which I think that right of way, potentially, if the town kept it as a space, I think that could be a problem, because if the town kept it as public land, then that's probably a public right of way. And now we're gonna have people up at the end of that private subdivision where people are gonna, I could see it potentially coming up and using the public right of way, and they probably have a right to.
Right.
And I can see that as causing problems.
I've got no,
No, I know, I'm just giving you my reasoning.
right, I don't have any dog in this fight.
Yeah, I
I
understand.
just am wondering, having looked at that property, if I was in a butter, and right now, it's a lovely bit of forested land, and I get it as part of my setting for free. Why would I, for example, want to expand into it and have to pay tax?
Well, I'm not sure the abutters would. They haven't expressed interest. It's the gentleman.
So, well.
What the abutters could, I mean, they could get together and buy it as an association. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's worth, my personal feeling at this point is it's worth putting it out to bid and see what we get.
That makes sense.
You know, and
See
definitely,
who bites.
right,
But
but,
as my husband and I looked at it, we're thinking, no, would anybody make
yeah,
use of it?
Yeah. but I could see potentially, I mean, I don't know, but you could see everybody who abuts it on one side or the other getting together and buying the piece and then divvying it up and deepening their lots. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's why, but I just don't see it as a great space. I mean, I'd rather use the money, if we can get money for it, for something with, again, what I would consider a more high value, but that's just my.
No, I think as it is, it's not making you any money, and it's,
Yeah, I don't mean high value money wise, I mean high value,
no, I understand, you're saying, turn it into money that can be spent
Right.
somewhere else
Yeah.
to get space we could use. I get that.
and I have a couple of thoughts in mind on where, but we won't go there. But anyways, so why don't we, I'll volunteer to call Kristen, see where that takes us. And do we wanna, put it out to bid in either case and see what we get?
I do.
I do.
Okay, but I think we probably should have a motion for that.
Okay, I move that we put bids out on tax acquired property N17L4-1.
Is there a second? Discussion? And I assume we definitely want a clause in there that says we have the right to reject any and all bids.
I like the fact that doing this, regardless of what the outcome is, it is consistent with the zoning that we did. You know, if the town were to say in perpetuity as open space, I'm fine with that. But as Thomaston has found out, you should kind of keep your options open before you do something that is permanent.
I hate that word. That's a long time. So,
Just one other
go ahead.
mildly relevant thought is, it did occur to us to wonder how anybody ever been allowed to lay out the lots that way in the first place, with this long, skinny, inaccessible lot.
Sure, that was probably way back before. No, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's the way they were done.
Yeah,
If you
I mean,
look at
you look
the
at them,
little
they're all-
map, well, I understand. Very narrow, and
Yeah.
that was how, well, those.
I don't know what,
What do you mean, this is a pattern, that they did this all over?
yeah, they're all, a lot of them very
Long,
skinny.
Well, it
skinny,
could have
lots
also belonged to someone, and then as people died off,
Right.
relatives took a little piece here, a little piece there, and then that turned it up.
Yeah.
The cover of the report 2 years ago, they showed Now, Jackson's map, and there are all these very thin parcels, and these are remnants.
I mean, we could pull the assessment card, but you know, that may have happened 150 years ago. I mean, I don't know, but
Longer than that.
I understand long skinny lots to take you down the waterfront, but this takes you nowhere.
yeah, well, top of the hill. Okay, further this, we didn't vote, right? No. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
Jeff, I,
John, aye. Okay. We did need catering. Okay, why don't we jump to discussion of climate resilience planning? Theo, you asked for this to be on the agenda, so you have something to
Yes.
share with us? I don't, was there anything in the packet, Terry?
No, because I didn't have it.
Okay,
Last Friday, the Maine Climate Council had an all-day workshop in Augusta, which by the time I came home, my head was spinning and I couldn't function for 2 days, but this is the book that they gave us. And I was able to meet the regional coordinator for our region, who sent me some wonderful materials. And which that is for me to look at, but I'd love to, I think this is a discussion that will take some time, but the short thing is that funding that is available to us under this program is if we can do, cross all the Ts and dot all the Is and get some help, would provide $50,000 toward a project. And there's a list of 72 projects that have been deemed accessible, from, traffic control things to, in our case, it would be water, water management, also sea level rise. It would be energy efficient things for the town. And I have the entire list of 72, which I, some other time, if you'd like to, do this separately. Otherwise, I can provide that to you digitally, but as I say, I just got that today from our regional coordinator. And this is a great opportunity for the town, but we do have to move fast. The first round, the second round actually is the first round. Second round closes on September 20th. Then they're going to have another round next spring. And the thing is, all the proposals on the first round got funded. And there is more funds, but it sounds like, people are waking up to this possibility. So I think we need to start acting. And there are a number of steps that we have to go through to be able to just even get recognized in the program. And that's what I just gave you. You can look through it and you can see what it is that needs to be done. So I would love to have a workshop or something where we could maybe outside of the town meeting talk about this in some detail.
yeah, that makes sense to me, since you didn't get the material until just a little while ago, and obviously,
Yeah,
we haven't had a chance to read it, so,
I was like
and
4:30, I got it.
yeah. I think, a workshop may make sense. When you said with a bit of a rush, I thought you were gonna say like July 12th or something, but
No.
September sounds like a lot of time.
Not,
but-
well, you have to read this
Well, I
first to
know,
see
I
what
know.
we have to do to get there.
But I wonder if it makes sense to do that after town meeting, since we don't gonna have a new select board
Oh, yeah,
person
I
on.
agree.
But that loses a week and a half or whatever. Thoughts, Jeff, Walter?
First of all, it is the resilience self-evaluation. That wouldn't be encompassed by the survey that you're doing.
Oh,
at
my
town meeting,
gosh.
right?
There's so much material, and that's the thing about it. I didn't realize how much has already been done. There's regional coordinators, and that's the woman I actually met in Augusta. She was so helpful. She's the one that went back to her office and sent me this stuff this afternoon. And so they work with you. And I still don't completely understand it, but if we go through and apply and you're accepted, those costs would be covered by the grant. In other words, it would be no cost to us, no cost to our town. And, but we have to jump through the hoops, and that's the part where I think we have to start as soon as possible.
And can you get a hold of the existing approved proposals so that they can be a model?
Oh, certainly, and that's what the regional coordinator is for. She's someone who's actually paid by the state to help us. And so the first thing she's done so far to help us is to provide that material to me. And she is also willing to come and speak to the council, to the select board, about her role and you know, more about the program. I think what we need is a timeline. You know, what do we have to do just to get started? I think getting a, what they call a regional coordinator is important, you know, because they do it all the time. There's different ways to go. And like I say, I could probably talk for 15 minutes and not give you, you know, 10% of what I learned. And but this is a wonderful opportunity for the town, and we can't just sit on it because the money will go away.
Can you just give us, you said there was 75 eligible activities?
72 that have been approved.
Okay. Can you just give us a flavor for that? I mean, I don't have,
The list.
no, I don't need all 75 too, but I'd like a flavor for it because I don't really have a sense of what.
It's quite an extensive list, and the thing is that they're looking at, and again, this just came off the press, but
I know you said you could send it to us, but just,
I can, but it's really fascinating, actually, what they wrote. Okay. here we go.
5 of them.
All right, embrace the future of transportation, purchase or lease electric vehicles from municipal or tribal governments. Install EV chargers in public areas. Adopt an anti-idling ordinance. The next one is improve mobility and reduce vehicle miles traveled. Then they have a list of things that could be done for that. Modernize Maine's building, and this is one that I think we really could use because it talks about transition to heating and more efficient, cleaner heating and cooling and appliances in municipal buildings. I mean, there's a little bit, I think. And okay, let me just keep going because I mean, these headings are great. Advance the design and construction of new buildings. That probably doesn't affect us. Reduce emissions through clean energy innovation. Grow jobs and protect natural resource industries. Support clean energy jobs and businesses. This is the biggie. Protect the environment and promote natural climate solutions. That's really what we want to do. Build healthy and resilient communities. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
that gives me a sense.
Okay, I'm only
Yeah.
page 5.
No, but, and you said you were gonna send them, but I just wanted to get a,
In other words, it's this broad spectrum of things. We just have to come up with a plan to do one of these things or more than one, and then you present your plan and if it's accepted, you get funded. But
okay.
this means, I think you're gonna need a working group to work on.
So that was my next question. It says establish a citizens working group. If you do not already have one, can the Conservation Commission serve as that group?
I think they want more community input than just the Conservation Commission. I think they want to see that the South Thompson community is going to be involved in this.
Okay, but again, I go back to the fact that we're having such trouble getting people to volunteer for anything. I'm thinking we have a group in place that could,
Well, we'll certainly be the nucleus of it,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah,
And I mean, I think it's the job of the Conservation Commission, and that's what Sandra was saying. And she's got some wonderful materials for the meeting to get the general community to start working with us to do some of these things and get excited about them.
I do like the idea of a workshop. I don't see a schedule one before town meeting.
No, I don't.
So, why don't we, and I hate to wait till the 12th, which is when we're meeting again, because now we've lost almost a month. But assuming we're gonna have a select board member, Jeff, could you and I pick a date for a workshop and then maybe that might hopefully work for whoever is our select board member?
Yep.
And why don't we do that when we get down to scheduled meetings then,
Okay,
unless you have to leave, because
I don't have to
I think it's what you be here.
I want to.
Okay.
Okay, but,
Could I suggest that you could announce at the annual town meeting that you want to form such a group and anybody
Well, I
who
don't
might be
think,
interested?
yeah, I just wondered if that's getting ahead of the game. I mean, I haven't even had a chance to read this yet.
You have to just get us names. It wouldn't get, you wouldn't be committed.
Yeah,
It's one opportunity.
we could put a sign-out sheet up. I mean, we do that for the other committees and nobody ever signs. But we could do that, I suppose. But, okay, well, thank you very much. And you're gonna send that list of eligible projects.
I know.
And, so is it just, I assume it's just one book?
I had to, they gave you one.
Okay.
when you went in and I.
So why don't I leave that here then? And if anybody wants to
Yeah.
use it, they can, this can kind of be, rather than me taking it, and if you want to refer to it or whoever. Okay, town meeting preparation. Okay, so Terry, you, what do we got? What are we doing here? Help me. We got, so you think you're all set? You met with,
Met with Ben today, and I have a key to the pool.
okay,
We'll have it in the gym. Show me where the microphone was, the chairs are, the tables are, we'll get it set up. We can use that entrance to come right into the gym to not go to the school. We printed warrants. We printed the ordinance, we printed the lease. We have two voting ballots.
okay,
We have yes and no.
and select board and school
Yeah,
board.
I had hoped to look at that today, but when the holidays are really terrible for Tuesdays.
Yeah,
So, but I think we're going pretty good. Tomorrow we'll work on sign-up sheets and get that ready.
so are the warrants formally posted now?
I posted them last Thursday.
And the return?
Yep.
Oh, did you post them or Michelle?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I wish I hadn't asked that question.
Are you closing early enough? I know you're running, trying to make the business go on during that day. I just,
What time did I say we were closing?
4.
4?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay,
We don't have to be there till, I mean, we don't open the doors till 6:30.
okay, I just,
Yeah, it's not a 6 o'clock.
um,
What about table setup and stuff like chairs?
I mean,
Are they right there?
they're right,
Okay.
Yeah,
so
right
we
down
can-
the hall a little bit.
We don't have to go.
they're
lug
on
them.
wheels. Well, there should be simple. I think 6 o'clock is.
And we have a candidate for a moderator.
Yep.
Okay. And we've had a couple of requests to distribute materials.
Yes, Theo had a couple of things that she wanted to, I put them in the packet, she wanted to.
Okay. And we also had a request from the library community to put their survey out. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, we haven't had any requests from non-town entities. have we? And I don't think we should. That makes me nervous. I think once we open that door,
Have we ever had requests?
I don't know. I think we had in the past, and I just feel like once we open that door, then where do we censor that and chicken choose? I don't have a problem with town.
Yeah.
But
so are the warrants being mailed?
no. The newsletters,
Right.
which said you
Okay,
could get a town report and there would be warrants available at the town meeting. Have you had any feedback about that, not mailing the town reports?
One person today.
And it was,
And she said, if we hadn't wasted money on a color photo, we could have afforded to mail them.
Okay. So that's only one person.
That's one
There's
of,
always one.
one of 1,511.
So sounds like we're good to go.
I think so. I'll look at things closer tomorrow and, by Friday, I'll probably be panicking and Monday I'll be a wreck and then Wednesday it'll be all over.
And he's got a hand up.
And go ahead, John.
I was wondering about, Amazon or UNA doing anything for refreshments or,
I hadn't heard anything.
okay. They'll have to,
You mean the ambulance?
yeah,
EMS. Okay.
EMS.
You said EMA.
I did.
Betty?
they're doing that.
Okay, I guess that's it. Jeff, you got any questions, thoughts?
No, Terry, what time are you planning to be there?
We'll close here at 4 and I'll have to take Maggie home and then I'll go over
Okay,
and I'll probably set up and then maybe get something to eat at this time. If not, I'd rather get there and set up and then go get something to eat than go get something to eat and feel a time crunch.
all right.
Oh, the registrar is open at 6:30.
6:30, yep.
And that's Phil.
Kristen will be there to help pass out,
Yeah.
you know, the packets of everything we put all clipped together.
Okay. Should we? Let's put out, I think we should, let's put out another notice on the email listserv when we get a little closer to it, like maybe Thursday or, before you leave Thursday or something like that.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Saying the town office is closing and that the meeting is
Yeah, the
there.
meeting's at 7 o'clock and where it is again.
Yeah.
I just think that,
Yeah, it's still on the website at the.
Yeah, but the website you gotta go to, the
Yeah.
email you get.
Yeah.
And, so. Okay, we good?
Good way to go, Terry.
I'm sure it'll be successful.
Yeah. There's always that one thing that you. As long as the moderator comes, right, Penny?
Yeah, please.
Why, you could do it.
She did do it.
I know. Okay,
Joe,
next,
did you mess up at the beginning, consider acceptable use agreement?
I did. Let's go jump back to that. Okay, this is on the agenda just to close the loop. As I understand it, MMA, our insurer, is fine with our current policy.
Yes.
So we don't need to fiddle around with their 1,600 page.
Well, she said that was perfectly acceptable.
Okay, so is everyone good with that?
Yeah, there, Gus has proposed, in addition.
To our policy?
Yeah.
Yes, it's in the notes, John.
I thought Gus was speaking to the MMA policy.
Oh, yeah, he was talking about the MMA.
But
policy.
probably if it's not in the MMA policy, it's probably not in our policy. So can we take a look at that and maybe, do you, I guess the first question is, do you think Gus's proposals are,
So it's basic computer hygiene.
so
Don't leave your password posted on your screen.
how would I know what it is then?
Put it under the keyboard.
How stupid of me. So do
It's
we,
it's like
so
one
do you,
sentence,
I
right?
guess, do you recommend incorporating Gus's into our policy?
You can't do any harm.
Okay, so Terry, would you take a look at our policy, bump it up against Gus's comments and then maybe draft one for the next meeting?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry about that, I thought you was.
How would I know my password? If I don't have to take the-
Okay, consider appointing appointing Leslie Spear to the appeals board. There are 3 members on this board currently, or 4? 3.
Agree.
So if one is absent, there's no quorum. So is there a motion?
Move to appoint Leslie Spear to the appeals board.
Is there a second?
I second.
I'm gonna recuse myself from any discussion here. I don't think there is a conflict of interest. There's certainly no pecuniary interest. And if you lived in my household, you'd know there was no chance of.
I do have one question. So I can't foresee Leslie having to recuse herself from an appeal other than anything that had financial implications or
Right.
was irrelevant.
Right.
However, at some point, it's possible that an appeal denied or accepted by them could end up in the select board's lap, at which point you would have to recuse yourself.
Well, that's not quite how. The appeal would be to court,
Right.
and then we have the authority as a select board to settle lawsuits. So the appeal, it wouldn't be actually dealing with an appeal, we'd be dealing with settling a potential lawsuit. So I can see that possibility,
Okay.
but I think it would depend on the facts. I mean, the law is kind of funny. It says you gotta avoid a conflict of interest or an appearance of conflict of interest, but then it says conflict of interest, you gotta have a pecuniary interest, which you rarely do, you know, so. And in these small towns in Maine, and I will say this, Leslie was on the planning board years ago, she kind of enjoys that a little bit. And the only reason she's doing this is because she feels that there's, and I've been clear to say this, she feels that there's only 3 members, and if one person can't participate because they have a pecuniary interest or they're sick, we're dead in the water. So she's just, I don't want to say she's just holding herself out to make a quorum. That would not be appropriate.
That's just bring a wealth of experience.
But I think it points out how desperate we are for volunteers. And I don't know how to get this out to the townspeople. Actually, I'm gonna let you call the vote, if you would.
I also
Oh, you had more?
a tangential question.
Okay.
Did we appoint Julie to the planning board?
Cindy?
Yeah,
Cindy,
Cindy.
yep, yeah.
Okay, she didn't make it to the annual report,
She,
I don't think.
she wasn't,
That's flat.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well.
no, I think her name was on it.
Was it on?
I don't know, we'll have to check.
Something triggered me to ask that
Okay.
question. So it's been moved and seconded that Leslie Spear be appointed to the appeals board.
We have a term.
I left that blank because I thought you would discuss it because you didn't tell me what time it's.
10 years.
I think you said there were 23 and 24 terms.
Yeah.
So if I were you, I'd run the longest.
Who made the motion? I did. Can I amend my motion?
You didn't second it.
Oh, okay. I move that Leslie Spear be appointed to the appeals board, the Board of Appeals, for a term expiring at the first select board meeting after the town meeting in 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, Jeff,
Jeff, aye.
Walter, I.
I abstain or recuse myself even, so.
Okay. Thank you, Leslie.
And anybody else in the public, we still need planning board members and appeal board members and budget committee members.
And a conservation commission.
Yeah, that seems to be the one committee we're not having trouble getting members. Hopefully, it's not just the newness.
No, it's just we're awesome.
Oh,
Can I ask?
well, we haven't, why do we have a vacancy? Don't recall.
I mean, Scarlett.
Oh, I see, and we've already discussed that, So,
Yes.
yeah. And did you put a notice out about that?
I think it's on the website,
Okay.
but I'll check.
Penny, you have?
I wondered if, there had been response to the recreation committee.
I haven't seen anything. Have you, Terry?
I had one, from Anna Frost. She was, to let me know what happens and if you get enough people to go forward. She's interested in being part of that.
Well, I had 3 others that were interested. How many would you
Well,
consider enough to go?
I think they need to submit their names to Terry, though. I mean, that's what we asked, right? So if we could, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that tonight, but, certainly I would think 5. But if you could get them to submit their name to Terry, that would be good. And then we want to have sign-up sheets back at town meeting again for recreation committee, conservation commission, wherever. Because I mean, even if we don't have vacancies, we can make a list, because we always seem to be getting resignations. All right. Speaking of resignations, accept and just resignation from the library and community center committee.
I move that we accept Ann Just's resignation from the Library Community Center Committee with regret and thanks for her participation.
Jeff,
Second,
further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Walter? Jeff?
Jeff, I.
John, aye. Okay, we dealt with the catering monthly reports. Anything anybody wants to talk about there? Huh? Oh,
I just have a question about Ann's resignation and what you would be doing about that, and also how I feel I would like to pull back from this committee also. There's a lot of stress in my life right now. I don't have a vote. There's a lot of pressure on the committee that if you aren't in support of the mission statement, that you should get off. I'm not in support of the mission statement because I don't think it reflects the vote taken last year in the amendment to the article. And we don't support the formation of the nonprofit at this time because I think their bylaws also don't support the article as amended at last year's town meeting.
well, that's a lot. I think if we were gonna have this conversation, it would have been nice to have this on the agenda.
Well, yes,
I mean, you've asked several questions. One is what we're gonna do about Ann's. I would assume we were just gonna do, that's a simple one. We were gonna put it on the website and send it out on the email listserv and have a sign-up sheet available at town meeting. I don't know what else to do there. In terms of when you said walk away from this committee, what do you mean by that? So,
well, I would like to not have to attend the meeting. I get, my comments are not included in the minutes. I have no vote. I am involved with fundraising for the current operations of the library. I have no interest in fundraising for the new building. And I wasn't aware of this resignation. It didn't come to the committee, or it didn't come to me. I don't always get copied on all the committees.
well, it went to the chair. So I just, I don't think it's up to the select board to forward it to the committee members when something goes to the chair, so I'll leave that at that, but
It went to the chair of the
I believe it
library
did.
committee.
I would think it did,
I think it went to both Gabe and Stan.
yeah. So I can't speak to that, so. Nor can, I don't think you were, you know. But I don't, okay, well, I don't know where to move from here on this. I wasn't expecting this tonight.
I have mentioned it in the past,
Yeah, I know, but,
but I guess my thoughts were, if you're going out looking for more community members, what to do?
so you're saying you're resigning?
Well, I would like to step back and come back, and I would like my name removed from it, because I don't, I feel like my name is being used to support something I don't support, and I have no vote. Where on the Futures Committee, I have a vote and could dissent and given an opportunity to explain my dissent in
Well,
public.
I'll look to Jeff and Walter, but I guess my feeling is I guess you either need to stay on or resign. I don't see how you can do it halfway. And I understand your concerns, and I also think it's a shame you resign, because I think it's terrible that we're designing a building without the librarian involved. It'd be like designing a fire station without the fire chief involved, but you gotta do what you gotta do, but I don't see how we can have it halfway, but maybe you guys have other thoughts.
Well, no, I understand where Penny's coming from.
I do too.
But at the same time, if they get to the point, if part of fundraising for something like this is you have to get an architect's conception of what a building might look like, if not 10 of those. And at that point, Penny, it would be absolutely vital that as library director, that you have input to that process. And I don't for a minute doubt that you wouldn't participate in that process, even as a non-member of the committee. So you're nodding in agreement, I hope. Okay, so, and then I'll leave the consideration of a resignation for you to deal with after I'm gone,
Well, I think that's,
or not.
my personal view is that's Penny's decision.
Right, exactly.
Jeff, you got any thoughts on this? I know it wasn't on the agenda, so it's kind of taken us.
Yeah, I agree with what Walter just said. I think it's going to be critical once they start any kind of design work that we have the librarian involved in that. I am not hard over, though, on her participating day every time they have a meeting during these early stages. But I think once they start putting pen to paper and figuring out what the design is going to be like, that it's going to be important that she's a part of it.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that there would not be an expectation necessarily that because she's ex officio, I assume, that she participates actively in the meetings. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's between her and them. And her feelings are important on that.
There's a policy that we just drafted regarding committees and commissions said members will be expected to be in attendance. But there's a distinction, I guess, between a member and an ex officio member, I guess, so.
Right.
Okay, so we'll just leave things the way they are then. I'm okay with that, and then I guess it's up to Penny whether she wants to formally resign or just, as you say, step back.
Yeah, and if I don't know whether the board would vote on this, but to me, Penny, if you go and tell the two co-chairs of the committee that you're not going to show up for their meetings unless their agenda is relevant to your role as library director, you should say that you have the tacit, if not the active support of the select board in that decision. Is that fair?
Thank you.
So you communicate then with Gabe and Sandy?
Yes, I will,
Okay.
I will
'Cause
put
I
it
feel,
out to the whole committee. I think that's important.
okay, because I feel someone needs to, and I think it would be better if it came from you, but, yeah. Okay. All right, where are we? And just, did we have vote on and just resignation? I don't even remember.
Yes, you
Yes.
did.
All right, is Amy, oh, let's go to correspondence. So we have correspondence from Sheila Levenseller regarding the parking traffic issue at McClune's. I think we do.
Yeah, two.
Two?
Well, it's an email trail
Yeah,
of
okay.
several.
Yeah, it strikes me this is a law enforcement issue, but, do others have other thoughts? I mean, we don't have the no parking ordinance there. I don't know what she's referring to when she says the parking code, right?
So their application said 20 parking places.
I went down.
I have not gone down there.
I
went
did.
down.
I
Did you
did.
count them?
Yeah, depending on how they're separated between the Lobster, McClone, and the other McClone, which is all the same property, as I understand it, is more than 20.
Okay, so they're not in violation of their permit.
Well, that's not for me to, that's for the CEO.
Oh,
to
CEO
determine.
determine.
But my casual observation, and this letter is to the Board of Selectmen, and you forwarded to the CEO, right? Yep. Is that this is mainly a law enforcement issue. If someone's parking on your lawn or in your driveway, I mean, I have tremendous empathy for them. But I don't know what we can do about it. And even if we enacted a no parking in that area, certain feet back from street or whatever, we have no way to enforce it. So
And we actually could, the select board actually could, right? Do that.
enforce a parking ordinance?
Yeah, I think we researched that regarding
Go down and write
part of
tickets.
the sea. Yeah, that's
Issue.
why we
Yeah.
didn't move any.
And then does
forward
that
on
get us into insurance issues? I don't know. I mean,
I agree that it's a law enforcement issue.
yeah.
It's only gonna get worse. I mean, we don't. I drive and pick up.
Jeff, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, it is a law enforcement issue. I mean, barring us creating some kind of an ordinance says that we have the power to tow your vehicle at owner's expense if you do A, B, or C. We would still have to go to the sheriff's department to get to enforce any of that. The bottom line, and I couldn't quite understand the letter. She said she called the sheriff's department and they told her she was supposed to call the sheriff's department. I didn't understand what she was saying there.
She called the wrong number. She must have called the administration rather than the law enforcement. I've been through that drill before, trying to get to Tim.
Yeah, she said one is the sheriff's department and one's the sheriff's office. I assume she meant dispatch versus the sheriff's, office's number, but.
Well, dispatch is who she should call if somebody's trespassing on her property.
And the fact that the sheriff arrives in 20 or 30 minutes, I thought was actually pretty good for parking.
Exactly right. And they're going to react differently to a parking issue than to a trespass issue. So if she's got people in her driveway that are intimidating her, she needs to communicate that to the Knox County Communications Center, and they'll dispatch the nearest police.
Did you have?
But it's purely a law enforcement, unless we created some kind of an ordinance that would make it a town requirement, which would be a monster. I just don't see us doing that.
I just, having been a small business owner myself in New Hampshire, I know the laws are different. But it seems to me that the onus of clarifying parking spaces would be on the business owner. And if in fact there were clear-cut parking definitions, then it would help the public understand that everything else is not included. So do they have?
But they're parking on the street.
If they do
That's
that,
what
they have
she-
clear cut parking lots.
They delineate parking spaces. The question I have is, I don't know if they have an arranged, I don't know if the restaurant and the wharf, which as I understand are in the same ownership, correct, Penny?
Yeah.
Have an arrangement that so many are designated for the wharf and so many are designated. My suspicion is they don't, because in the evenings, when McLuhan is the busiest, most of those lobster fishermen parking spaces are empty.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Very good.
But one day, Terry will tell you, this is how absurd this got, is the fishermen from McLuhan's called here wanting the town to do something because McLuhan's restaurant people were parking in, blocking their lobster spaces. And Terry said to me, well, I said, we're talking about the same owner. They gotta sort that out, but they want the town to sort it out.
Right. And the business owner and the neighbors, could they talk and come to some agreement as to how they could do that? It seems like that would be.
I think
beneficial.
one,
She's had conversations
Yeah.
with Bree.
Okay.
and one of the CEOs recommended that she do that, and it didn't appear as though she thought that was a satisfactory.
Okay. Thank you.
So, I'll draft her a brief letter and just say we considered it and feel that it's mainly, first of all, there is no parking code. Dan can check to make sure there's 20 parking spaces. Terry, if you would pass that on to him. That's his to call, not ours, because that would be a permit violation if there isn't. But I think there's more than that, actually. And hopefully the next 2 months will go by fast. I don't know who put up all those parking signs, but they don't, there's all kinds of no parking signs, but they're not the towns, and they don't carry any force of law.
I don't think they work either.
Well, that'll be worse, starting a week from now.
Okay. We got another letter from Ted. Mailer regarding, Travis Wilson. My understanding is that Wilson did not file a permit in time for this month's planning board, and the planning board meeting has been canceled as a result. They have no business. So, Jeff, are you and Kristen, my understanding was last time we talked, you and Kristen and the code officer were gonna wait and see if they filed a permit and if they, application. And if they didn't, then you would go plan B as opposed to plan A, and is that still the thinking?
Yeah, that is the thinking. I talked to Dan today. He's got a couple more pieces of information that we need before we do it, but he and I are going to draft a letter, and we'll circulate it with you guys and with the with Kristen before we send it. But I do think there's a plan C that's out there. I don't really want to talk about it right now, but all of this may very well go away soon.
Okay. So how do we respond to Ted? Can we send him a brief letter saying that no permit application was received? The town's attorney and code officer are contemplating what, if any, enforcement actions need to be applied or something like that,
Or it's that
Well,
code officer, our town attorney, and Jeff are pursuing the plan of action that we detailed for him at a previous meeting, and
yeah,
obviously,
because there's another abutter who talked to Dan and said that in the last couple of weeks, Wilson has been extremely quiet, that he's significantly decreased his activities over there. And even Ted said the same thing, that he's not making as much backup noises, which was the primary complaint before. So,
well, would you draft something to Ted then, just something brief?
yeah,
I feel like, I know.
Yeah, I will.
It's obviously a major concern for him, and I feel like he's been patient, and the plan was they were gonna, the agreement that was made with the planning board, which probably wasn't kosher to begin with, but we'd give Wilson until the June meeting to file another permit, and he didn't do it, so. Okay. We good? Yep. The saga goes on. Okay, is Amy?
I got a text from Amy a little before or at the beginning of the meeting. They had a death in the family, so she asked if she could reschedule.
Okay. Do we need to talk about any other personnel matters? I don't think so. Warrants, we got here to sign. So the next meeting, we'll have our appointments. We need to have election of chair, Terry, don't forget about that. And do we table anything from tonight? I don't think so. Okay, well, we'll work on that. That's a long way off. I know it. Okay, scheduled meetings. Let's, we can't, we have a meeting, town meeting is the 28th, select board meeting is the 12th. We can't schedule another, the second meeting, until we know who our select person is. And assuming it is Sue, she's not available on the 26th. But we want to schedule a workshop. Jeff, any thoughts on that workshop after town meeting? Boy, that's gonna, I just saw something, that's gonna be tough. Got company coming and then I'm away for a few days. Jeff, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can do the 7th or the 14th.
Okay, 7th, I'm not here.
Okay.
I could do the 14th. I could do the 5th. Is that Lions night?
It's not Lions. Oh, the 5th. Yeah, that's Lions.
I could do the 14th. Are you available to you on the 14th?
Yes.
Now, of course, we don't know if our new select person is. But why don't we tentatively, what about the 13th? I'd like to have two.
We,
That's your meeting night?
Conservation
Okay.
Commission, yeah.
Well, why don't we say what about the 18th, 14th and the 18th? So would the 14th mean the primary, but.
Yeah, I can do the 18th too.
All right, why don't we say the 14th and the 18th as a backup? Okay. Jeff, anything else?
Nope, I think that's all I got.
Harry, you good? Would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
I would like, yes, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further
I
discussion?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Jeff,
John?
aye.
I'm getting tired already.
John, before you sign off, could I just announce that we are having the flea market book sale at the Wilfred Butler grounds this weekend, and the Conservation Commission is more than welcome to pass out their surveys if they'd like. Yeah.
What's the date of that?
Saturday, 8 to 1.
This Saturday?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want Terry to send out something? Can you?
Oh, I'll
Okay.
send you something here. I try to leave her alone on Tuesday.
Okay.
But especially with all
This
her.
holiday.
Walter? We have adjourned, by the way. Go ahead.
I wanted to thank Walter.
Pardon?
I wanted to thank you for your time and Barbara's time too. It's a July matter for sure.
Thanks. Did you send, Brian's help wanted ad for firefighters out to the listserv?
No, I didn't. I don't have it.
Um,
I could get it from him. I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think he's making any progress, and I'm nervous about how advanced in years the core of the firefighter unit is.
I'm nervous about everything. It isn't just, I mean,
Yeah.
nobody just wants to participate anymore, it seems like.